Welcome to Inside Leduc. My name is Tarah Flynn, and our guest today is James Turner from Turner Guitar Studios. Thank you so very much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Tarah.
Yeah, I'm so excited. So tell me a little bit about your business. What's your elevator pitch?
So the Turner Guitar Studio is, I don't know where I was going to go with that, but we're a small town music store, but with a lot of stuff. We offer a huge range of products and accessories for any musical interests that you might have. And then we have a music school with 15 teachers now, and we offer over 20 unique disciplines that you can take lessons in.
Wow. So as much as your name is Turner Guitar Studios, you do so much more than guitar?
Yes, absolutely. Guitar is definitely the main thing. We have more guitars than anything else and more guitar teachers. But yeah, there's definitely something for pretty much every type of musical interest.
Nice. So what started the more from guitar to more than guitar? Was it always that, or was that something that you had the clients come in and ask, or?
It definitely started more so as guitar. I mean, I didn't start the store myself. My dad did, and he was primarily a classical guitar player. So he was already teaching guitar all over, basically from Drayton Valley through to Edmonton, driving to people's houses. And he's like, okay, I need a place where people can come to me instead, save me some gas miles on my car. And he started off, I think, with 13 guitars hanging on the walls, which are all his own guitars that he just made available for people to buy. And then, basically as the store grew, you'd have different people, interested in different types of instruments that they want to learn or different ones they want to buy. So it just kind of grew from there. But yeah, at this point, we finally, as of a few weeks ago, I guess now, hired our first cello teacher, which is really exciting. It's something I've been wanting for a while. And he's got a PhD, or like his doctorate in cello performance. So really good experience to have on the team now. But yeah, so it's always been kind of growing just naturally as people request things.
Nice. So do they come and ask you, or do you search them out, like in regards to bringing in the new instruments and new teachers? Like, how does that process work for you? Kind
of both. So a lot of times we'll just have people approach us out of the blue, say, hey, I want to teach. Do you have an opening? And if it's something that we either have more demand for than our current teachers can provide, or if they offer something totally new, then we'll consider taking them on board if we feel they're a good fit. But there are lots of times where we do run into too much demand for what we can really offer, and I put out ads and try to find them. In terms of a cello teacher, I specifically went out looking for one and approached him just because I felt like he might be a good fit. But yeah, it can kind of go either way.
So do you sell cellos? Like, so they buy a cello and then you provide lessons, or do they come to you and say, hey, I want to start a cello, or like learn how to play one? Or
yeah, I mean, I don't sell a lot of cellos, but we usually have at least one in stock at any given time, sometimes a couple of them, and then you can order in different stuff if somebody wanted something specific, depending on the brand. But yeah, it's a bit more of a niche market, but in the past we'd always sold them, but we'd always have people buy them and be like, hey, do you know anybody who can do lessons? I don't. so now it's nice. I can be like, yes,
there you go.
Perfect guy for you.
Perfect. So you mentioned that your dad started the company. So was this something that you always wanted to do, was to take it over from your dad, or was when you were growing up, you envisioned something different?
Not originally. I don't know. I mean, like everybody, I had lots of different ideas for what I wanted to do when I grew up. I was always interested in entrepreneurship. Like, when I was a young kid, lots of times I, try to find ways to make money, just buying stuff and like selling it at soccer games or something, or whatever. a couple of my older brothers were also quite entrepreneurial. And so I did some landscaping for a while with one of my brothers. The guitar thing kind of more so came from me working for my dad in the shop. And I kind of fell in love with music at that time and, started teaching guitar at the store, and it just kind of grew from there. So, it was about when I was, about 20 years old, and I took over the shop. Just because it had kind of grown to the point where my dad wanted to kind of back off from the business, and I was, kind of ready to take a bigger step. So kind of made sense.
20 years old. That's fairly young though, to be running a store like that. That's quite impressive.
In hindsight, I probably should have had more preparation for it, but it didn't work out, I guess.
That's awesome. So how was the transition from like your dad to you? How did that work? Was that quite smooth? Did he give you lots of coaching? Was there?
Yeah, there was definitely some rough patches. At the time, I was still actually working full-time doing landscaping with my brother in the city. So I kept doing that. So I was working probably 80 hours a week. I'd basically landscape, and then I'd come here in the afternoon, teach a bunch of music lessons, and then do business stuff in the evening. But my dad was still there for a couple of years, really helping kind of with the day-to-day because he was still teaching. He just didn't necessarily want to be the one kind of in charge of everything and managing stuff. So yeah, it was not like a one day it's him, one day it's me sort of thing.
Yeah.
To some degree, there's times where I feel like I had to kind of pull it away from him. Like he didn't want to let go of the reins on certain things, and I had to kind of take that on. But yeah, for the last 5-6 years, well, he actually moved away for a while. So he was gone for a couple of years. He moved down to the States for a little while and up to Red Earth. So at that time, then, all on me. But.
Yeah. Well, I can understand that when you run a business, you have a vision. So I can see how there would be some resistance for some ideas when his vision was very passionate for him in how he grew it. Right. So I can validate that as a business owner. Like there's definite passion behind it. So.
Yeah. And you definitely don't always see eye to eye in terms of where you want to go with things. So.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I feel like it's now very much my own in terms of, getting into the sorts of stuff that I want to have and the type of philosophy I want to have around how we deal with customers and that sort of stuff. Though, that's not that different from how he dealt with things, but I feel like I'm a little bit more professional. Not that he was like he wanted to be everybody's friend. Mm-hmm. And I feel like I want to be very friendly, but I also want to bring a level of professionalism that, kind of would be more on par with, a high-end boutique place. It's very, very clean and cut and dry and good paperwork and all that sort of stuff, good policies and procedures that everybody can follow and understand. And that's something that I've been working on a lot for the last few years, trying to make sure that, it isn't just as haphazard and just that really small town sort of thing.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah. So like more entrepreneurialships versus a place that you can do your own trade, like teaching. Like you have the business where he wanted to have a place where people can come to him. Like there's two separate fields there for sure.
Yeah. Yes, that would be a good way of saying it.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you took over, was there quite a bit of pushback from like certain ideas, or like what was the biggest change that you had in regards to how it was run to what your ideas were?
That's a good question. I would say that the way that we deal with kind of the back end side of the business is probably where the most of the change is in terms of how we treat customers and stuff. That's always been very good, right? And like my dad, like I said, he's very, very friendly. Everybody really likes him in that way. But there are times, where kind of on the back end, he would be very lackadaisical, like, oh yeah, we can just kind of do it kind of this less strict way. Whereas I want stuff done very properly, the paperwork, if I'm entering inventory into our system to make sure all of that's managed very well, stuff's much more organized, and try to make sure that I'm, having more consistency across the board in how we do our pricing structure, things like that, just to make sure that everything is, just again more professional in that regard. The biggest thing is would be that my dad's very religious, and he's a Seventh-day Adventist, and Seventh Adventists don't do anything on Saturdays.
Yes,
he would not be open on Saturdays, and it was a long time after I took over the store where I finally just was like, no, we're opening on Saturdays. We have too many people who want to be coming in, and there's a lot of pushback from him on that decision, because he's,
Yeah, I can totally believe that. But Saturday is definitely a time for lessons, especially for kids and like that. Would definitely.
The retail is the big.
Oh, yes.
That's when they go and do their shopping. So, but we still are open Sundays, so now we're open 7 days a week.
Nice.
Maybe he had a point in needing a day off. I don't know. Maybe.
Is that something you've learned that if it's open, it's harder to take a day off?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Which, I mean, I don't personally mind all that much. I like working, but some days maybe it gets a little much.
Yeah, I can believe that. Yeah, so do you only do like string instruments, or you mentioned you do because cello's a string, right? So then do you do beyond string instruments in regards to coaching and selling? Yeah,
not as much, but we do a lot with piano. So we have 5 piano teachers, I think.
Oh, wow.
And we have 2 drum teachers. We offer saxophone lessons. But yeah, it's definitely a smaller part of the business, the stuff outside of stringed instruments. Guitars, ukes, banjos, basses. That's kind of the big ones. Then violins and cellos and some of the more unique instruments, mandolins, that sort of stuff would kind of still be in the mix. But yeah, it's really mostly those stringed instruments that I personally have experience with. Mm-hmm. Which is why it makes sense for me to deal with them. Yeah. I'm always tempted to kind of get more into, brass or woodwind and stuff, but I just, it's such a different world in terms of like knowing how those instruments all function and being able to recommend stuff. I just don't always feel comfortable with that. So I do stock some just for people who know what they're after and they want to pick something up or whatever. But yeah, it's, I try not to get too much into that, just because I know I can't serve people as well as some other shops who do specialize in that kid. So usually I just send them there.
Perfect. Yeah, that makes complete sense. And congratulations and kudos to you for doing referrals. I know lots of places wouldn't do referrals, so that's awesome. Do you, like you said, you had 15. So how does that work for space in regards to teaching and space and management of like who takes what block, and like is there quite a bit of scheduling with that, or like how does that work out?
It was worse before the pandemic, surprisingly. Yeah. But now that we're doing a lot of lessons virtually, there's how many teachers? I think I have 4 or 5 teachers now who have entire days where they teach, but they don't come into the shop. So they're not taking up a physical space. They're teaching that from their studios at home. And that frees up the physical space here, and then even when they are in the shop, the offices can work pretty good for those virtual lessons. So they do a lot of those virtual ones from here. We have 8 offices for lessons to take place in the shop. So there's definitely been times where teachers wanted to add more days to their schedule, but just the days they wanted to add, there's no room available. So that's where I'm really hoping that at some point in the next couple of years, we're in a position to expand again. It's like our third expansion, but
oh wow, because you guys have been in the same place, so haven't you? So like, how does that work for expansions?
Yeah, so we're in the same building, but we did have the. I've done tons of little renos over the years to kind of change our downstairs space to fit more staff. We have different kind of rooms built out in different ways to kind of fit as many people in as possible. But in 2018, we got the upstairs of our building. So that was the biggest expansion we had, doubled our square footage. And the offices up here, like this used to be the family counseling center. So they already had these offices all nicely built out for counseling sessions, perfect size for teaching. And so a lot of the teaching moved up here. We have a little bit more space downstairs for the retail and still some offices down there. But yeah, we're kind of starting to get to the point where we're butting up against the space limitations of our building again. So our lease is up in 2023. So hoping by then we can be in a position to pull the trigger on actually doing a full-on move. Mm-hmm. Very exciting, but I guess time will tell.
Right. Do you think that the virtual training is going to continue? Like, is that going to be a permanent pivot for you, the virtual?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It definitely won't be as big a part of it once the pandemic's well and gone, because there are lots of people who are doing virtual who would rather do in person. But there's quite a few people who, as soon as we started doing virtual, they're like, this is great. We want to keep doing this forever. It saves us having to drive and deal with schedule with the kids. Just, have them log on at the right time. People who live out of town, we've had people take lessons from us as far away. I think the farthest is Thunder Bay.
Oh, wow.
And now that we have even more teachers, some of whom are a little bit more specialized, like our cello instructor, Ryan, because he's so experienced and so well educated, there's going to be, potentially lots of people who would want to take lessons from him outside of our area, just because he's obviously offering something that's quite unique in general, but even if they have a local cello teacher, they probably aren't as experienced or capable of taking them where they want to go as Ryan would be. So, and there's lots of our other teachers who have a high degree of experience like that as well. So that's something that I expect to stick around for a while. We actually have one teacher already who moved away, but she's still teaching her students virtually. So she had to move out to the West Coast, and then another one of our teachers is moving to Nova Scotia in June, and he's still got probably 10 to 20 students who are going to be taking the lesson virtually while he's out there. So
wow,
that's definitely gonna be an ongoing thing.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So are you gonna, if they're moved to that city, like, can you see yourself marketing in that city and saying like, we can do virtual lessons, or how do you plan to branch out and follow them, or how does that work?
I don't think that really matters too much. We have marketed or started marketing our lessons more broadly. And that's how we got our Thunder Bay students, right? Because he found out we did lessons and offered something that he wanted. But yeah, because they can do it virtually, marketing to their city doesn't really make a difference. You can market to anywhere in the world, really, as long as schedules can somewhat line up, then you're good to go. But yeah, the marketing hasn't changed too much, aside from the fact that now we can offer that to anybody anywhere.
That's cool. So is it like Google? I'm just fascinated that you can do this all, because I just imagine you have to be in front of the teacher to know finger placement, but I guess that's all in camera too, to know as long as the camera's in the right place, you'll know.
There's definitely limitations to the virtual. In my experience, there's kind of two types of people who don't do super well with virtual. One would be, if your technique is really struggling and how you're holding everything is is something that you tend to struggle with. It can be a little harder for the teacher to kind of figure out what you're doing wrong when they are just looking at this 2D image. They can't really kind of see how your whole posture is and how it's sitting on your lap and stuff. So for a lot of people, that's not an issue. But for the people who it is, those ones definitely are better, at least with some or in-person lessons where they can kind of get that corrected. Going. And then the ones that I struggle with the most would be ones who have a really hard time with rhythm, just because there is a lag. And so you can't jam along with them.
Okay.
Show them and then have them play back. and it's tough because normally I'm used to like tapping my leg with my hand to kind of help them keep on time and kind of, I'll cue them to their next chord change or the next thing, just a fraction of a second before it happens so that they remember to do the motion. But it's hard to coordinate that when Zoom's, second behind or whatever. So those are the ones that are tough. The ones who do incredibly well with virtual are people who want more so the information that you can offer. So if you're learning theory, there's basically no difference between an in-person lesson and a virtual lesson. In fact, virtual might even be a benefit just because of how we can do the sharing screen stuff and sharing materials back and forth, and that sort of stuff can be a little easier than having to deal with physical papers. And then students who are fairly experienced already, they're not necessarily wanting to learn really complex theory, but they just want more ideas for how to do what they can. So understand the new chord shapes, understand certain types of songs, how to approach different types of rhythms, techniques for practicing different stuff. And for probably the majority of people, those are the main things that you end up doing. So yeah, it's definitely not for everybody, but I think some people are hesitant to give it a chance when it would really work. And then, I think any of the teachers here would be definitely forthright if they didn't feel like it was something that they could be helping with virtually, and would change that for the student if that was needed.
That's good. That's good to know. Yeah, because I can't say that I'm very musically inclined. So that's interesting to note that there's so much different ways to teach or different steps in the process of teaching. So thanks for that clarification. That's fantastic. So what's the greatest thing that you've learned about yourself since starting this business or taking over this business?
Probably just how much I like working. I don't know. I've learned a lot of skills that I previously didn't think I would be good at. So I was always quite shy, for example, as a kid. And I'm still shy actually, but I just have learned ways to kind of cope with that and work around my natural instincts regarding dealing with people. And now I'm much more comfortable kind of dealing with all sorts of different situations, whatever those may be, whether they're confrontational or positive, and making sure that ends up working out for everybody. So yeah, that would be kind of probably my biggest change in myself that I guess was something I didn't think I would have been good at. And that's changed a lot over the past 10 years for sure.
Well, I think it comes in when you have the confidence and it's yours. There's a definitely a different level of way you interact when you have the vision and you want to step into how people see that vision.
I think that's very true. I find it quite regularly with my employees where they'll be very nervous about doing something because they're like, is this the right thing to do? They don't want to make that decision. And then I find it really easy to make that decision. But I think it's because I'm the one that I know that if I make the wrong decision, it's on me. Nobody else. There's not somebody who's going to be yelling at me except myself. And I'm using myself, so it's fine. but yeah, I think that does help a lot when you know that you can kind of own your own mistakes if you make them, and easier to let yourself make those mistakes.
Yeah, totally.
Than if there's somebody else there getting mad at you, I guess.
Right? Yes, absolutely. So what is the favorite thing about running your business?
Probably just, well, there's two things. I'd say there's two favorites. So one would be anytime I have a really great experience with a customer where I can truly help them, and they come in, they really don't know what they need, or they come in with a total misunderstanding. They think they need something else, and then I can kind of direct them in the right way and really help them. And with my different customer service quality that I offer, can just kind of blow them away, and I get those really good reviews and referrals from it, or whatever. Those sorts of moments where people are like, "This is amazing. I love that experience." That always makes me feel great. And then the other thing would be being able to play music more than most people. I was going to say all the time, but I can't. I work way too much for that. But I still feel very privileged to be able to spend as much time playing guitar and other types of music in a way that is actually generating me income, rather than just as a hobby that I have to kind of take time out of my day to do. So yeah, I think that's pretty awesome.
So is your day pretty structured, like in regards to office time, teaching time, floor time, or do you kind of weave in and out as needed?
I definitely weave in and out as needed.
Yeah.
I have certain things that are structured. So as a teacher, obviously those lessons are booked in, and aside from drastic things that, I need to move a student for, those times are set aside for that. And then I have a few kind of regular recurring meetings, like in a BNI networking group, those meetings every week. I have, the Downtown Business Association meetings that I attend monthly. So there is certain structures like that. But when it comes to stuff outside of there, yeah, any given day I could be, driving, deliveries to customers, or I could be, spending 2 hours with a guy that just walked in and wants to try guitars. And I had all these plans to like do a demo video or something. And no, now I'm helping that customer pick out a guitar.
It really takes 2 hours. It can take up to 2 hours to pick a guitar.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't all the time. There's lots of people where, it's 5 minutes. And
yeah.
They're like, yep, that one's in my price range. It looks nice. Let's go. But the guitar is a big decision, especially if you're buying, a really nice, multi-$1,000 instrument, and you want to make sure it's the one that suits your needs. I've had people, easily spend 2, 3, 4 hours.
Wow.
Trying out different ones, playing them, seeing what they feel like, what they sound like. That's the sort of thing that, I love those experiences helping customers, but they sometimes end up a drag because I can't control when those happen.
Yeah.
So, that's the one thing that ends up stressing me out, is on the days where I have like so much I need to do in the office. It's like, I got these paperwork things I got to get sent off. I have these orders I have to make for customers. I have to do all this. And then I get interrupted with customers that, I have to take care of myself. There's nobody else who has the skill set to kind of help them find what they need. And so those obviously take precedence, and I'm happy to do it, but that does add quite a bit of stress to my life.
Yes, for sure. I understand the feeling of overwhelmed when the to-do list doesn't go away. The focus is, but I didn't realize it took so long or it could take so long to, but I could definitely see it. That's not how they portray it in the movies, though. But I can definitely see that that happening for sure.
Who they come in and they know what they want, and they grab it, and maybe you have to show them just a couple of quick things just to kind of make sure they know what they're getting. But yeah. It can
Interesting.
definitely go both ways. And I really like to give all of my clients a good education regarding guitars. So one client type that we get in a lot is people who've never played music before in their life. They're like, I always see people playing guitar. It looks awesome. I want to learn, or my kid wants to learn, or whoever. What do we need to do? And I don't want to be that shop ever that's just like, oh, well, buy this guitar. It'll do what you need. Right. Because, and maybe I even know the answer. Maybe I've just seen them enough and I've asked questions, a couple of questions when they came in, what they're after. And I could even tell them which guitar right off the bat I think would suit them the best. I don't want to ever kind of force them into that and make that decision for them. I want them to understand where the pros and cons are. And because there are cons with everything. I mean, you could spend 10 grand on a guitar and obviously it's the downside, which is price, but but there might even be things about that guitar that don't suit you at all. Right. So just spending money doesn't help. So I want people to understand what it is that they're getting so that then they can make that informed decision about it. And if there's one that does suit what they need, then they'll be able to understand that and make that decision. And if it's, something else that they end up getting gravitated towards after I explain the stuff, then that's great too.
So you're not a salesman. You even in the sales process, you're the teacher. Like you never thought of it that way. You don't take that hat off. Like that's how you're not a salesman. You're a teacher throughout the whole process, which is probably why people keep coming back, because they're not being sold. They're being taught. Yeah.
I never thought of it quite that way, but that's, I think, very valid way of thinking about it. And the last thing I ever want to do is have somebody buy something from me that they regret buying. Right? And I think that sometimes happens with people. Well, I mean, I have it happen to customers of other stores that then come to us where they buy a guitar. I mean, usually it's like Best Buy or Costco or whatever. And in their minds, and I totally understand it. If you don't know what about guitars and you see a guitar that looks like any other guitar, maybe it even looks fancier than some of those cheap guitars that have really nice finishes. And you go to Costco and you're like, yeah, it's $120. That's great. That's right in your budget. That's easy. And they don't really understand why that might be an issue to learn on and how limiting that can be to your actual enjoyment of playing. And like as a teacher, like there's nothing worse than having a student with a guitar that every lesson they're fighting with it to just get anything musical to happen out of it. And I, as a professional musician, would have trouble making anything musical happen with that instrument. And I've seen countless students quit over the years because they just don't have quality instruments. And you don't have to spend a lot. Like, honestly, there's lots of times where, a $200, quart would suit what they need. And, that extra, $50 or $100 or whatever. Yeah. I mean, they're spending that on a couple of lessons.
Yeah.
And yet the people in their perception, they're like, I don't want to spend that extra money. But that's where I find, making sure that people understand what it is that they're actually getting and where those trade-offs are, where their best value for the money products are. I think that's where we can really make a difference in how much people enjoy playing the music when they get into it.
Absolutely. I was an electrician for a year, and the one thing that stuck was you're only as good as your tools. If you don't got good tools, then you're not really you're gonna be fighting the process of working. So
yeah. And I think that applies to most industries, most things you do. If you buy the cheapest stuff, you might save your money in the short term, but long run, it's going to cost you.
Totally. Yeah, for sure. So what keeps you motivated when the days get hard?
I don't know. I just keep working. I just do it. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I guess if I had to boil it down to one main thing, it would be that I want people to have a very positive customer experience. So even when the days are hard and I feel like this is so stressful, I just need to, like, you know, do whatever else. I do know that I want people who are interacting with our store, whether it's in the music school side or, you know, purchasing products in store or online, whatever. I want to make sure that they're enjoying their experience. I don't want somebody to ever leave, you know, being like, that was terrible, I don't want to go back. Right? That's and so I don't know if that's a good motivation. Maybe I'm putting too much stress on myself, but either way, I make sure that that's something that's always a big focus of mine. So I think I do a good job of it.
Yeah, I'd say you've, like, look at how much you've grown. Like, I think that is proof of the business that you're running and the community that you're creating is, like, the growth that you've seen over the last few years. So yeah. I think that speaks volumes that you were able to fill up a whole, like, double your square footage, fill that up, and still, you know, potentially going to see more growth. So, yeah. But what do you do as a business owner when you get that feeling of overwhelm or like, how do you deal with that? Do you just truck on, or do you have a process that you work through for that?
No, I don't think I really have a process. I mean, I should mention, I don't get too stressed out that often. My job, as stressful as my job is in certain respects, it is flexible enough that I generally can kind of unwind midday. You know, there's Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays sometimes get crazy for whatever reason. Those 3 days of the week, it seems like I can just end up I want to, like, eat lunch. It doesn't happen until like 4:30 because there's just always something interrupting, you know. So there's those sorts of days, but yeah, it doesn't really end up bothering me too much. It's something that for the most part I just keep doing what I'm doing because I can, and I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I just have never hit that wall, but
that's good though.
Yeah, I've never had to figure out a way to super cope with stuff.
Well, that's really good to hear. That's awesome, because you hear lots of business owners have that moment of struggle or that mindset. So that shows you're real passionate for your job, that you can just keep going. So that's awesome. So what is the biggest pivot that you have since you started your business?
In general, just as business, I don't know if we've done any major pivots as a general business structure. It's always just these little incremental changes. Obviously, COVID in 2020 threw us a big loop and, you know, introduced the whole virtual lesson world. And that also did probably do the sharpest pivot, if you want to call it that, from mostly just in-store sales to mostly online sales. And so fortunately, we had already been in the process of developing our online store. And it was probably 50-60% ready to go by the time the pandemic hit. Mm-hmm. So everybody could already, you know, order stuff online. We just didn't have nearly as many products up as I would have liked, that sort of thing. But yeah, that would be the biggest thing that's changed about how we do business, just because, you know, it's not just people walking in the store now that I have to help. It's, you know, some random guy in Arkansas who's, you know, wanting to order a guitar or whatever. And I possibly put a little too much effort into it. I don't know. I guess time will tell how it pans out. But I really try to make sure that my online stuff is top notch. That, you know, my customers are 100% taken care of. I go 110% in terms of what I put into that sale compared to, what they would expect if they just, click shop online, buy this product. The end experience that they get, I want to be above any other expectations from a normal store that they order from. And I think I've done that extremely well. And we have 100% five. Actually, I think we have 1 4-star rating. But on Reverb, which is a big online store that we sell through, it's all been 5-star ratings with that one 4-star. And that comes from the fact that I'm going out of my way to make sure that experience is positive. And even customers who end up having issues, I make sure I'm taking care of them extremely well. Some of my best reviews have come from people who ended up having to return the product that they bought just because of how easy I made that for them and how well I took that process. So that's something that takes a lot of work on me in particular. My other guys can't take care of that. All the online stuff's on me. So that's adding a ton of work to my plate over the last year and a bit. But it's working out in the sense that, we do have very, very satisfied customers. We're getting into lots of products that we don't have a market for in our local community very much. But now we can sell these products to anywhere in the world. And so that's been something really cool that has come out of the whole situation. So
is it like in the follow through that you have that, or like, how does that work in regards to what that extra 10% would look like from 100% to 110%? Like, what does that process look like?
Yeah. I mean, I think most people, when they order something, they expect that whatever they have on the screen and they order it, it's going to show up in good condition. They're not going to have, issues with it. And so I want that to happen, but I also want to make sure that the way that it arrives is very good. The way that I package everything, I try to make sure is top notch. I always include, with pretty much every order, there's some exceptions, but pretty much every order, I do a handwritten note that I write out, thanking them for the business. And, if there's different interactions we'd had through messaging or whatever prior to the purchase, I'll make sure that I'm kind of referencing those sorts of things, trying to build those relationships for more long-term, satisfaction with the customers and that they'll hopefully return. And then I usually put in, little add-ons that they don't expect, with higher priced stuff. I might throw in, some of our branded water bottles or, things like that. Nice. And, I think that goes a long way towards making people, just even if something goes wrong that we can't avoid, the shipping got delayed, or, maybe something got damaged in shipping, or if the guitar just turned out to not be quite what they were looking for once they try it. That makes it a lot easier for me to now go in and be like, here, how can I help you out? I want to make you happy. I don't care about any of the other stuff. I want you to be satisfied as a customer. What do you need me to do? And then from there, we end up having people just blown away at how well taken care of. It's not just, your big box store type experience. Totally. It's very personalized to what they're after. And I always, unfortunately end up losing my self-sales because people want to buy stuff. And I'm like, oh, is this actually what you need? This is a pretty niche thing. Are you sure this is what you're after? And then I help them solve their problems. Sometimes I got a guy trying to buy a DI box the other day online, and I kind of asked him a ton of questions like, what's this problem that you're having with your interface? I think it ended up just being like a patch cable that was bad or something. But, but that's the sort of experience I want, because if I sold him that DI box, I get a sale, but it turns out to not really help him with his problem. So how does that help me?
No, totally. I get it. See, again, it's that teaching hat. You just don't take it off. Like you have the follow through that goes with it. So that's really fantastic. The online part, you said that was new. Are you like, do you do all the parts? Like if I buy a guitar, like, do you service? Do you do like everything that has to do with it from beginning to end?
Yeah. I mean, when it comes to certain types of repairs, there are things that we just don't do. But the vast majority of stuff we do, all the setups, servicing any guitar we sell in store or even online, as long as they live in our area and can get it to us, we'll offer free setups anytime in the first year, free restringings in the first year. So we make sure we're taking care of customers on that side of things. And then obviously people who just have products that they want to get stuff installed into or repaired, they can bring it to us and we can help them out in that regard. And then obviously the sales, rentals we offer. So if people want to try out an instrument, don't know which one they want or don't know if they'll even like it at all, they can rent a guitar for a couple of months.
Wow, I didn't know you could do that. You could do rentals. That's pretty cool too.
Yeah, and that works great for people who want to try out guitar, because a decent guitar is a bit of an investment. I mean, you can then try $500-ish guitar, which is going to be the sort of one that would last you your whole life if you take good care of it. It's not one you'd need to upgrade out of, but they can try learning on a guitar that's actually really good quality. Try it for a month or two. If it turns out it's not their thing, no big deal. Then just bring it back, and it won't cost them $25 or $50 or whatever. Yeah. And then if it does work for them, they get 60% of their rental payments as a credit towards purchase, and they can have that guitar to keep forever. And that's done really, really well for us to help people out since we started that program a couple of years ago. And I feel like there was one other thing I was going to mention, but now I'm forgetting it. So.
No, that's all right. Yeah, no, that's pretty cool. I didn't know that you had the rental part either. Like that definitely will help, I think, with the process with people actually trying to see and feel how, like, if it fits or how it works. And it definitely, I definitely can see how that process and that having that added bonus and step could help with the purchase. So that's awesome. So where would you like to see your business in 5 years from now?
In a bigger space, at least twice the size, maybe bigger, better shipping and receiving area. Right now it's my office. You can't see the floor behind me, thankfully, but there's a bunch of boxes and bags full of packing material on the floor because, this is the space I have to actually do all that packing and shipping. And having an actual room dedicated to that would be awesome. And then more space for more teachers, because I'm sure that will keep growing the way it has been. And in terms of the retail space, I think our space is very poorly laid out in the sense like our building's long and skinny, but we do the best with it we can. But having a bigger space with the same amount of stuff, but where it can be displayed better and really show off what we have, I think would be much better. Because right now, it's a lot of stuff kind of hidden behind other things or around this corner that you don't really see. So having a really nice display room would be awesome. And I'm hoping that within 5 years, we will be in a position where that can happen. I would also love to have a coffee shop built into the building.
Okay.
Where we have a stage and can do our open mic nights, different little, like a mini venue thing. To me, that would be perfect.
Nice. How long have you been doing the open mic nights?
My very first ones I tried would have been 2013, something like that. Originally at Ruth's Deli in the mall. Yeah. And then, we were at Second Cup for quite a few years, and that one did pretty good. And then we moved to Leduc Coffee Shop, which is great because it's a much bigger space. Really good acoustics in there, by the way. Sounds awesome. And then and better food actually than Second Cup had.
Yeah.
And then
they had bars, not food. So yes, really, yeah.
And then unfortunately now it's just virtual, which is still cool. We have one coming up this Saturday, which I guess probably won't be when this goes public.
Yeah,
but we do them second Saturday of every month.
Nice.
Not sure what's happening regarding the summer this year, so if you're interested in our open mics, make sure you check out our Facebook page to find out when the next ones will be happening. But we do those through Zoom, and they're still pretty well attended, and still a good experience for people. It's just not quite the same as being able to jam with them in person.
Yes,
We'll get back to that soon, hopefully.
Right. So even for your shopping, and like you mentioned that's on a different site, and then like your Facebook page, like if someone was trying to reach you, or trying to get to some of these events, where would they look?
Facebook is really good for the event stuff, just because, we actually put the events on there. They can just like it. It's got all the links and everything. We do usually get that up on our site as well. It just won't show up in your news feed or anything. But our website's the best for shopping. You can pretty much just go search up anything that we have on there. And then, we're on Facebook and Instagram primarily for social media. And then I have a YouTube channel. So I've been trying to push more towards that lately, doing different demo videos, instructional videos. So, there's some old content on there. I'm not super proud of. Very, very low production quality. But
we all got to start somewhere.
Yeah. Just set up a camera, hit record, do my thing, and upload. But now I try to put a lot more production value into the stuff, which means I get way fewer videos out. But I think they are a lot better videos. So that's something that we're going to be doing a bit more of a push for in this next year, really trying to get the online or the YouTube channel in particular, kind of more consistently uploading cool content. And I just uploaded a couple of really cool videos in the last few weeks. So.
Nice. So what is the coolest thing, or what is the newest thing that you have in your store to sell or on your video for content? Yeah.
So the newest stuff for us, actually, super exciting. I'll just show you. For any of you online people, you won't be able to see it, but, or listening to people, I should say. But these are, they call a smart acoustic system. So the company is called High Vibe, and they do these systems where you can add effects to your acoustic guitar.
Oh no.
And so totally unplugged acoustic, I can just add different effects. Like the layers.
Oh, wow.
And then actually I'm going to switch that effect back. And then I could do stuff like this looper. So I could noodle on that for hours. But anyways, that technology existed for the last couple of years, and we sold a ton of them in the leg guitars. But now we are the first and currently only authorized installers in all of Canada for these systems aftermarket. So this guitar is our best seller in the shop, and we installed one into here, and then we installed one in that other one behind me. And we're installing them for a ton of people who are just wanting them into their own personal guitars that they already own, or people buying guitars specifically. They want that guitar and this feature. So yeah, it's been doing really, really well. And that's only been about a month that we've been
Wow.
that. But yeah, that's pretty exciting. And there's a couple other brands we're getting into, but I'll leave that there for now. But there's a few other lines that will be pretty much the exclusive in, if not all of Canada, at least in our area. So,
wow. So
cool stuff.
Keep checking his content for his YouTube channel for what's coming out next. But that's super cool. So how did that process work then for you to become the the only one? So did you reach out to them? Did they reach out to you? Did you have to take classes on installation? Like, how did that whole process work out for you?
So, I mean, we had dealt with them in the past regarding the leg guitars. So I've owned one of those personally for about a year and a half. So I'd already talked to the CEO of the company for just help dealing with some of our systems and stuff. So we already had a bit of a relationship. So when they started selling these systems aftermarket and made that a thing that they offered, once that was available, I reached out and was like, hey, is this something we could do? We already had experience installing pickup systems. So these ones are a little bit more advanced, but, they kind of made sure we knew what we were doing and went through the process of how to install and kind of gave us the go ahead to start selling them and installing them.
So is that like something that you're getting like from all over Canada then too? Like, is that like shipping and receiving? Is that all part of that process for you for online?
Yeah, for sure. And we ship obviously the most in Canada than anywhere else, but I ship all over. In general, whether it's little accessories, pedals, amps, whatever, through to different guitars. We've had 2 people so far order guitars and have these systems installed. One's in Ontario, one's out in the States, and that's something we keep getting calls for. So there's going to be a lot more installs happening for people all over the place.
That's awesome.
As we go forward.
Well, hopefully it's not just you doing the installs. Hopefully you have some help with that.
Yeah, actually, I'm not doing them at all myself. It's actually my dad who's.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, so he's been doing tech work and stuff for a long time. So
that's super cool. Well, that's a nice surprise to see him back, like doing that kind of stuff. So that's awesome. That he must be quite proud to see how that's evolved for this guitar studio.
Yeah, and he was just telling me the other day he actually really, really loves doing this sort of stuff. He's just like, it's kind of great because I can teach a little bit. I can do, some repairs. He's like, and it doesn't get boring because I'm doing all sorts of different stuff. So.
Yeah. Well, and I imagine that's quite a bit with a lot of, because it's never same, right? And they get to do what they love to do and can interweave with lots of different things when they work for your store. So
yeah, exactly.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what is it? Sorry, go.
I was just going to say the one thing I don't want to forget about, but I forgot to mention is it isn't just me who owns the store. I also have a partner, Laura Tilak.
Nice.
So she's been helping a lot for the past 3 years, I guess it's been, where she got super involved and started helping out with a bunch of stuff. So I just wanted to make sure I didn't forget to mention her. It's not all me. It originally, for the first while, was more so me. But yeah, she's definitely made her mark and helped with the stuff I was mentioning earlier regarding the organization side of things, which is something I always wanted to do, but was not very good at. But she's extremely good at that sort of stuff. For anybody who knows her, that's kind of her thing. So organization and scheduling, finding ways to do stuff
right
efficiently. So
yeah, well, her business is taking off too, like just crazy for her. Yeah. But I have seen her. You guys did the open mic nights together, so that's nice to see that's evolved too.
She's a really big part of those. And I mean, she's a bit of a musician, but it's not like her main thing. But she really took those open mics and kind of made them her own. Once she came on the scene, she was way better at marketing them than I was. So they suddenly got way more popular. And she's also probably more interesting than I am. So when she's on stage talking, it's better than me trying to MC. I'm very boring at that sort of stuff. So yeah, they've done really, really well with her. And yeah, we've done lots of performing together, whether it's with the open mic night stuff for her campaign for city council last year, or not last year, in 2017. We did tons of live performance as part of that. And yeah, that stuff's been really, really good. So.
Well, that makes it, she's definitely sees a little bit of yin and yang there. That's definitely going to help with that success as well. If she's able to be stronger in some of the things that you're not, and vice versa. So that's going to be.
Yeah, we definitely are not the same person.
Yeah.
She's really, really good at a whole bunch of things that I'm really terrible at. And I'm good at customer service, and I'm good at guitar. I know a lot about guitars and can help people, but she makes pretty much all the other stuff do really well.
Well, that makes a really good business partner. So that's awesome. Can't wait to see how that grows with you guys working on that together. So that's fantastic. Yeah. So what is it that you love about Leduc and our community the best?
Leduc just adds a city. I think it's fantastic. Very, very well laid out. Lots of, good spaces, the park system, all that sort of stuff. But as a community, I think it's really fantastic. And I feel very privileged to be a part of that community and being able to work with all the different people, whether it's like the chamber, the DBA, the city of Leduc itself, or just random other people doing different types of events and stuff. And so, yeah, it's, I guess the willingness of everybody to kind of help out and, engage with you when you're doing something event wise. And yeah, I think it's been really good. I've never lived in another community as an adult, so I don't know what other ones are like to compare it to, but I know that Leduc's been really fantastic as a place to be. And I don't plan on, having our location ever move out of Leduc. Maybe we'll expand and add a second location, but our home will always be here because how well the community's embraced us and everything we do.
Mm-hmm. I've talked to a few businesses, and that's definitely a common thread is how we definitely join together to make sure that our businesses succeed and that we are very passionate to help each other out. And all our organizations and associations and stuff are really community driven. So it's nice to see that you're on so many and you are involved in so much in our community as well. So that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you have a day off, how do you spend it?
What's a day off?
Yeah.
I honestly don't really take days off if I'm around town. Occasionally Laura will force me to go somewhere that isn't Leduc. Usually it'll be, hiking in the mountains, going to Banff or Jasper or Canmore. In the winter, it'll be skiing. That's pretty much the sort of stuff that I would end up going out to do. Would be those sorts of outdoorsy sort of activities. And then, when I'm around town, like I said, pretty much I'm always here at the shop to some degree, but I do stuff outside of work occasionally. When it wasn't COVID times, I was playing hockey on a beer league team. So that's probably my biggest passion outside of music would be just into playing hockey and watching Oilers. And then just playing music in general, like not as a work related thing, but just, whether it's writing music or going and just playing around the campfire type stuff. Like I just really do like to relax and play music when I can.
So it's still a passion, even though it's your job. Like it doesn't, you don't ever get like, I'm just sick of saying this anymore. No,
I honestly, if I go for more than a day or two without my guitar, I just feel lost.
That's awesome.
It's just, part of my life. And thankfully part of my life. But if I travel anywhere, it's always coming with me. One of one of my guitars. Usually my Sigma, but
Yeah.
it doesn't really matter which one it is. Could even be a ukulele. It just I need music. I need to play.
That's awesome. So this time has flew by. Is there any last words that you have for our listening guests today?
I guess I'd just say that, if you haven't been in our shop, whether you're interested in, music or not, feel free to stop by and check things out, see what there is to see. And if you are interested in music, definitely check us out. We can make sure you're getting on the right track for what would work for you, whether it's a certain type of lessons or certain instrument. And check out our events.
Yeah, open mic night. Well, that's fantastic. Open mic night too. Like that's a nice value add and a good introduction to who you are and the services and what you can provide as well. So that's pretty excited. So thank you very much for your time today. I appreciate it. And definitely check out his YouTube channel as more content will be created as well, and Facebook and his website. So thank you so very much for joining us today.
Yeah.